You know, I remember the Battle of Hoth. That was a particularly proud day to be an Imperial, as news spread far and wide of the success of General Maximilian Veers and his mostly formidable force of AT-ATs. Now, I love these vehicles, and I'm aware that they're not viewed with the same rose-tinted lenses that I have. So, to prove my point that AT-ATs are in fact good, I put in a good word with our ship's captain, and she has agreed to dock at a top-secret Imperial Walker testing facility. So far we've been here for the past 2 rotations now, and we haven't seen a single one. They must not be testing them for some reason. I guess most of them are out in battle now that I think of it. Tell you what, I've still got one more trick up my sleeve. This'll change your mind. Check that out. Pretty amazing, right? Yes, today we're talking about the AT-AT Walker. Behold, the Imperial AT-AT, or All-Terrain Armoured Transport Walker. These tall lumbering metal behemoths strike fear into the hearts and minds of the Empire's enemies on the ground. And today, we are going to take a look at and break down why these walkers are actually more amazing than you might think. And I guess we shall also take a look at some of their weaknesses, so let's start. Arguably more recognisable as a symbol of Imperial might than a Star Destroyer, the AT-AT Walker is the go-to machine for the Imperial Armoured Corps, as you'll find these things at the forefront of most major full-scale siege and assault battles that Imperial ground forces are involved in. So let's take a closer look at our AT-AT here. At 22 metres from its base up to its back, there is no denying that these guys are tall, with different models varying in size, that size serving a different purpose for each one. As you have probably noticed, this seems to be a running trend not just for the AT-AT, but for most Imperial Walkers compared to their Clone Wars counterparts. Why is this? Well, the main reason is to inflict psychological terror on the enemy that will be taking them head on, and to deal with any unexpected Walker countermeasures set up on the ground, such as walls, barricades, giant spikes, and anything that can trip them up or stop them from walking altogether, which is not what you want. Their height also provides a tactical advantage, allowing them to easily spot and pick off enemy combatants on the ground, both at point blank and at great distances. This makes hiding from them quite tricky if ground cover is not sufficient enough, as they will always have the height advantage over most in a battlefield, which can sometimes make all of the difference. Simply put, being tall means they can walk over most obstacles and not have to worry about piercing or damaging the core components in the torso and head, unlike its predecessor from the Clone Wars, which everyone seems to love so much. The AT-AT model is a continuation of the infamous and much beloved ATTE, or All-Terrain Tactical Enforcer, a nimble little artillery platform that led the clone battalion front lines with onslaughts of blaster and cannon fire. It was well built, sturdy, and could take any heat the Clone Wars threw at it. Oh, and they could climb up vertical walls for some reason. Go forward in time and the AT-ATP, or All-Terrain Armoured Transport prototype, came onto the scene. At 25 metres tall, this early version was very much built to test the waters and capabilities of these new taller all-terrain armoured walkers as a concept, and it worked. Well, mostly, proving it could carry a sizable number of troopers, hold its own in a battle, and most importantly, traverse all terrain. And that's where we are now, the AT-AT Walker. And you know what, it works so well in fact they slapped a big box in it and made it 31 metres tall, giving rise to the AT-ACT, or All-Terrain Armoured Cargo Transport. The name of this one speaks for itself, I don't need to drone on about it, do I? What do you want to know? It's a cargo variant, it's not designed for war. The reason for the current models having their height reduced compared to their prototypes was to make it a harder to hit target at a distance and to reduce the load on the legs from all that mass in the main body, allowing for finer movement adjustments when traversing difficult terrain and making it more nimble on the battlefield. Well, as nimble as an AT-AT can be, which isn't very, but we'll take what we can get. Buried within layers of reinforced armoured plating, 4 sets of powerful piston drives, shock absorbers and brake pads are responsible for maintaining a smooth and steady walking motion in each leg. On all 4 footpads are built-in computers and sensors, providing the pilots constant terrain and status updates regarding the external ground conditions that the walker is facing. At max speed, a walker can get up to 60 km per hour, which is very rare to see, but they can if needed. So, I think you'll find that these vehicles are truly marvels of galactic engineering. Within the head of the walker, you'll find the cockpit helmed by 2 pilots and 1 commanding officer, whom is responsible for relaying instructions and giving both pilots updates regarding field conditions. One pilot is responsible for manning the weapons, and the other has to pilot the walker and keep it moving. This is the part where you aspiring walker pilots listen closely. An AT-AT has 2 side-mounted medium blaster cannons that act as anti-personnel blasters for picking off small enemy combatants, and 2 chin-mounted Class 2 heavy cannons for powerful blasts capable of breaking through shields, walls and enemy fortifications. So I think you'll find that despite its precarious position on the walker, the head is actually one of the more formidable and heavily defended parts of the entire vehicle, especially with that reinforced armour built in. We have the body of the AT-AT sporting 2 decks with a combined trooper carrying capacity of 40, when neatly assuming shoulder to shoulder. Troopers have a rail and cable winch system, allowing for rapid deployment down to the ground from the walker's side, and are able to charge their packs thanks to the seats having built-in chargers installed. And finally, the walker comes equipped with room for 5 74Z speeder bikes, which, like the troopers, can be deployed via harness and will usually scout ahead of the walker to gain insight into the path ahead. So why not use repulsor lifts instead of these needlessly complex leg mechanisms to carry all this stuff? They are, unfortunately, too heavy. The AT-AT's thick armour plating simply weighs too much for any known repulsor lifts to effectively carry, instead relying on powerful sets of legs to carry them through a battlefield. As much as I hate to admit it, a big problem with these legs, however, is their height, which has given these walkers a high centre of gravity, making them very prone to falling over should something hit them with sufficient enough force or prohibit their movement altogether. Penetrate an AT-AT's shield and you're looking at trying to hit 2 main weak points on the walker, that being the neck and the reactor, with the head containing most of the computer systems, rangefinders and offensive capabilities of the walker as a whole. So take that out and the things are as good as useless. Same goes for their engines and reactors. AT-ATs are of course known for being slow, especially when turning around. This makes them extremely susceptible to being flanked from the side by enemy ground forces and aerial combatants, with fighters and speeders being an AT-AT's main enemy, as hundreds of them have been tripped and blown up by rebel starfighters with nothing but blaster fire and a sturdy enough cable. This is why you'll find most AT-AT units being accompanied by AT-ST scout walkers, so they can deal with that, while the AT-AT focuses on marching forward. But despite some of these glaring issues, these vehicles do play an extremely significant role in warfare, and this is of course where they shine as gleaming morale boosters for the troopers, escorting and protecting them from above. So there is no denying that a battlefield's dynamic does change when the AT-ATs are introduced. They are the frontline heavy hitters of a battle, whose job it is to shift the tide of enemy lines and push them back. When bases and heavily fortified structures are involved, the AT-AT will be responsible for cracking those open so that troopers can get inside. So in the grand scheme of a battle, you will find them marching and escorting legions of Imperial ground forces through the chaos of warfare to a designated target, such as an enemy base or structure. More often than not, an AT-AT is the be-all and end-all when it comes to battle situations, as their core directive is to break through enemy lines and be unstoppable in the face of great adversity. And if they can't do that, then either you've got one tough rebel cell on your hand, or you need to further assist the walker in keeping rebel combatants off its back. It's a two-way street of respect. The walker provides the firepower and the trooper provides the protection. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not complex. And you know what I just realised? There are walkers out there. Wow. Look at them go. Or rather, wait for them to go, I guess. Alright, you know what? My eyes have been opened. Maybe AT-ATs aren't all they're cracked up to be, especially when cables get involved, but maybe many of you who considered these vehicles awful have now been enlightened. Now you know their mechanics and function. But most importantly, those of you looking to become AT-AT pilots are now all caught up to speed with these vehicles. And the next time you're out there, you won't trip the damn thing up because It's very expensive, so with that, why not consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing to start your journey into the Empire today. And with that, long live the Empire and may the Force be with you.